95 of Bolts. Here comes the caution.
Flag is dropped here at Daytona, and away we go for the first time. Nicholas Porcel, Sean.
Looks like most get through unscathed. Look at that, there's Reed Gibson. A big move at the inside line of Doms, possibly a little bit of contact.
Now, as we've got three wide action going through turns 1 and 2.
And they're underway. Eric Hahn takes a nice jump. Wilson hasn't let him go very far.
Go out here for Circuit Spa Francorchamps. Alex Johnson's off to a brilliant start there.
See just how oddly shaped this one is. We saw in the background Eric Hahn go for a bit of a swing, and he's gone and he's over.
New stuff. Cody Graham's the one-on-one up into second place. Alex Johnson 6/10 lead at the moment.
They're dicey up front. There's Andrew Kessel, Justin Sang.
They are ready to go. The lights are out, and away we go for the very first time here at Okayama International Circuit. Finley Fitzsimmons. Good evening, race fans, and welcome back to the Team Goon Squad Cup Series. We are here tonight at the legendary Bristol Motor Speedway as we enter into the second round of the playoffs here tonight. And folks, it is going to be some exciting action. As always, my name is Mason Heimball with Team Goon Squad, bringing you the action here today. 1080p, 60 frames a second, as we always do. Drivers currently getting qualifying underway, as we also just get things working for us in the nick of time here today, having some technical woes that have now since been resolved. So here we go, qualifying currently underway. We're going to see what drivers are going to start out at and how they are going to fare in this very, very tricky qualifying, or excuse me, I should say playoff race that we have here today. Last week we saw Daytona with some exciting action, also having some great action finishing out that race here. So hopefully we get to see more of that as we get more into tonight's event. Aaron Smith currently at the top of qualifying with a 14.76, just 1/100th of a second behind him sits Paul Mikolajczyk, the number 7 machine, as he comes to a stop. Matthew Fitz, that we're looking at now, the 6'9 driver, finding himself in that 6th place position at the moment. And he's going to bring that back down into pit road to wrap up his qualifying in only a few minutes remaining here, and qualifying about 3 minutes roughly for the drivers that are here today. So with that being said, this is going to be a very interesting time here. Now, I recall last week that I mentioned some of the drivers that were in the playoffs, that were actually in the playoffs, but I kind of forgot to include drop weeks in those point standings. So I'm going to have to go through, redo all of that, and kind of figure things out from there. But overall, the driver to come away, I would have to say, with the regular season championship would have to be Jaden Hahn, but I won't say that with 100% certainty until I do all the math and all of the drop weeks and things of that sort. But until then, I would say it's pretty likely that is going to be the case here for Jaden Hahn. Now, speaking of Jaden, the number 81 driver currently sitting in that 3rd place position with a 14.78. And that will put him in that 2nd row. So James Coulibaly, the last driver out here, putting in a qualifying time. And I think that will conclude it for a lot of these drivers. Qualifying runs here, all but 2 drivers have made a lap around the track here. And it looks like Nick Beaver as well. He's also here. I should say 3 drivers in total that have not made an entry here in qualifying. So with that being said, James Coulibaly going to be the last driver out here on track, and theoretically this will be the last qualifying attempt that we see here today. So a rather short qualifying that, well, is expected here at Bristol. You don't have a whole lot of time to turn around the track, and it will make things a rather short race. At least it feels that way. But still a lot of laps that we are expected to turn here today as we kick things off and get into today's race. Now, So 240 laps that we will be expecting for today's race, as there it is. James Coulibaly makes his way down into pit road. So you can see on the left-hand side of your screens where drivers are currently going to end up heading into the start of today's event. So Aaron Smith off to a phenomenal start. The lean, mean, yellow banana doing a fantastic job here and inching out the field by a mere 100th of a second. Paul Mikolajczyk a close second, and Jaden Hopp just 3/100ths of a second. 2/100ths of a second behind our leader in that third place position. Charles Jurek in that fourth place spot. That's where things start to fall off a little bit for the field and as far as pace is concerned, but not a major amount. And there it is. White flag is waved, and that's going to conclude our qualifying session, and we will move into our main event here today. Let's go ahead and get through our starting grid. Starting up in the front row, Aaron Smith, Paul Mikolajczyk. Second row, Jaden Hopp, Charles Jurek. Our third row, consisting of Patrick Colby and Michael Keithley. Matthew Fitz and Sean Williams taking up our fourth row. Howie Briss and Nicholas Caressel in our fifth row. Scott Shire, James Coulibaly in our sixth row. Moving on down the grid, we have Nick Beaver and Max Neuwirth in that seventh row. Dylan Meyer and Thomas Sewell going to be the last drivers in our eighth row here today. Red, our race control admin for today's race. Unfortunately, I made an oopsie when creating the session, so he has to be present in the driver roster in order to do his role as race control, excuse me. As I stumble out of my words, and drivers get themselves down to the starting grid and lined up and ready to go to kick things off here today. Bristol Motor Speedway, a legendary track in the world of motorsports, and I think it's going to be an even greater time here tonight, as a lot is on the line for those that are looking to secure those points heading into the final round of the playoffs, and also ensure that they have a spot going into that second round, or into the final round, the championship round, which right now, again, I'm not 100% certain who's all going to be making it into that playoff round, but we will find out after tonight who will be the ones fighting for that championship heading into next week's race at Dover. Or Darlington, excuse me. I don't know why I said Dover, but just a few seconds remaining before we get the field rounded off here for the first time. The safety car will make its way around the track just one singular time, and then we will get ourselves going for today's action. There it is, the safety car making its way around for the first time here today at Bristol Motor Speedway. 240 laps that we are going to be expecting here tonight, but it is going to be a lot of action-packed racing here at the last great Coliseum that we just saw there on the sidewall. But either way, either how, folks, as we come down the back straightaway, again, not a whole lot of room on this track, not a whole lot of time that these drivers are going to be spending down the straightaway, so really are going to have to manage, manage speed, manage your tires, manage your fuel, try and stay out there as long as possible. 70% fuel that drivers have in the tank as well as 3 sets of tires behind the wall, so they have plenty of options to work with as we get ready for the pace car to make its dive back down into pit road. The green flag to drop for the first time, and it looks like we're going to make another go around here. And here we go. Out of turn 4, the green flag drops, and Aaron Smith down to the bottom with Paul Mikolajczyk looking up to the top and onto the back straightaway. Paul Mikolajczyk, a very good move up into the lead. little further back into the midfield. This is where all of the action is. Drivers trying to scramble for positions and get a little room between one another. The tail end of the field is where things look the most dicey. Nick Beaver trying to weave his way through this field as best as he can, having to start from the tail end of this field in 13th at this moment, but trying to maneuver his way around Max Newert and that number 66 machine. But passing here at Bristol is a lot easier said than done, and you have to commit if you do intend on trying to make that pass. Charles Jurek to the outside. That 76 Battle Bit machine moves up to the front now, and he is enjoying and favoring that high line. Kind of looks to be kind of diamonding the track here, if you will, and doing a phenomenal job of it here as well. Looking great, setting the best lap time here with a 14.89. 6 laps in to 240 laps here at Bristol Motor Speedway. Little side-by-side action happening between Howie Briss and Matthew Fitz that we can see back here just a little bit. Oh, a little bit of beating and banging happening as Nick Beaver slides it across into turns 1 and 2. Manages to pull it back together, but that was heading right to the barrier. He managed to save it. A great recovery from Nick Beaver. Checking back in with Aaron Smith, the number 70s, who started up at the front, falling back to that 3rd place position, now having Michael Keithley, the Shrek machine, right on his tail, and starting to close that gap here as well. Aaron Smith is looking calm and cool at this moment. I think he is setting himself up for the long run rather than the short-term race here. We're only 10 laps into the race. We're clicking off laps very quickly, but that definitely does not mean the race is going to end the next lap. So you definitely got to take your time and play it cool. And according to race control, to Red, our fuel window is looking to be about 70 to 90 laps. So this will definitely be a 2-3 stop race. Definitely a 2-stop race, maybe 3, depending on how drivers kind of want to play this one out. So they have to definitely use their tires cautiously. Just to give a quick shout out to everyone tuning in and watching at home. Michael Keithley, Thomas Sewell, Lindsay, as always, great to have you guys. Michael, Thomas, they should be driving. Thomas, unfortunately, finding himself not quite having the pace that he was favoring or looking for here tonight, so he's going to take that car back to the trailer, and he's going to enjoy the race from the pits. But either way, thank you, Thomas, and for everyone else for tuning in and enjoying the action here live with us. The second to last round of the playoffs. And folks, it is going to be an exciting one here tonight. It already has been quite the start. Frankly, I've been very impressed with how clean a lot of this entire field has kind of kept things. Nick Beaver having a little bit of a close moment just a few laps ago, but he was able to recover from it very, very well. I'm curious to know if he's did any damage, or well, I should say, if he bald spotted those tires any from sliding across the pavement the way he did. It didn't look too severe, so hopefully it's not too bad. He seems to be holding his lines fairly well, not fighting the car too much here. So I think he should be A-okay for the time being, but I'm sure it probably degraded it just a little bit, if at all, realistically speaking, as he makes a move around James Coulibaly, pushing his way up into that 11th place position. He's going to hold on to that spot for the time being, as we got a couple other battles happening just behind him, as Max Newert trying to reel in that number 22 TaxSlayer.com machine just up ahead of him. Just about 0.2 of a second between these drivers, but here is Nicholas Caressel down to the bottom. Matthew Fitz onto the back straightaway. Fitz having that better pace at the moment. Again, that high line kind of seemingly being favored by a few drivers here. It seems to be producing some good results here, but there is Caressel committing to that bottom line. Fitz gets into the wall. That's going to allow the 45 machine up into that 9th place position. Down the front straightaway across the checkered line. It's lap 23 of 240. Max Neuwirth right onto the tail of James Coulibaly. Looks to the bottom, coming out of turn 2. Down to the back straightaway. Max Neuwirth committing to the pass and makes it happen. James Coulibaly going to have to try and find some pace here in that 22 if he can. See if he can change up his line a little bit perhaps and maybe get a few extra tenths of a second out of his pace here. But that 22 machine definitely seems to be slowing down here a little bit as the race progresses on. But there it is. It might have been a little bit of a change up there from Coulibaly. The 22 going a little bit higher that time around. At least it seemed like maybe that wasn't intentional. Maybe it was. I'm not 100% certain. But we've caught a fight happening for the lead as Paul Mikolajczyk, Charles Jurek, Aaron Smith all fight it out here through 3 and 4 across the checkered line. Aaron Smith right to the door of Charles there for a moment, and coming down the back straightaway. They stay side by side, a good distance between each other, and there goes Jurek. He's going to fall right behind the tail of Aaron Smith, but into 1 and 2, he commits to that high line. And he's able to stay within a few tenths of Aaron Smith as well as Paul Mikolajczyk here, so I wonder if he's going to be able to reel him back in. It might take a little bit of time, but Charles has definitely been fighting for this lead for quite some time, and I don't think he's going to give it up too easily here. We're watching along with Howie Briss, Nick Beaver, Nicholas Caressel. Beaver trying to go to the bottom lane to make a pass around that 45 machine who sits into that 8th position at this time. And Howie Briss, I mean, the 97, not too surprising here to see how calm, cool, collected that Howie is at this moment, just staying absolutely cool as a cucumber. I mean, just not even phased at this moment, and I think he's going to retain that throughout this race here. And more often than not, it's definitely played in his favor by doing so. So we'll see how, we'll kind of check in with Howie throughout the race here, but right now he's kind of just taking things easy. He definitely, out of all the drivers here, I think he's the most aware of the fact that it's going to be a long race and you're not going to win it. Again, you're not going to win it in the next lap. So you have to be mindful of those things, and taking risks sometimes isn't always the way. Well, there are definitely situations for it, but here as we get a good pass from Jaden Hopp, Paul Mikolajczyk, or Charles Jurek, excuse me, getting to the rear quarter panel there for a split second. He's able to recover that one, but Patrick Colby, Charles Jurek now going to be side by side. The Miller Lite number 9 machine out of 3 and 4. Try and stick it there to the bottom and hold on to that 4th place position. Now ahead of the Battle Bit 76 machine. Sean Williams looking to get some action here as well, sitting in that 6th place position, but as he moves to the bottom through 1 and 2, takes that spot for 5th. Now the 89 machine tracking down Patrick Colby to see if he can get another spot here. Well, the pickings are still good, and Nick Beaver, Nicholas Caressel, Michael Keithley, these guys have been continuing to fight it out here, or at least Beaver and Caressel have been. These two have been pretty much locked bumpers, for quite some time. Here is Beaver's opportunity, it seems like, out of 2 onto the back straightaway, gets to the bottom of the 45 through 3 and 4. Door to door between these two as they come out onto the front stretch across the checkered line. Beaver stays to the bottom. Caressel has no other option but to go high. They stay side by side down the back straightaway. Back into 3 and 4. Caressel keeping the momentum up there, even with that disadvantage that he has, staying on that high line. It's definitely going to degrade the tires more staying up there, but Beaver is inching it out. Will he? There it is. Gets out in front of the 45 machine to take that 7th place position. Nick Beaver, your current hardest charger of the race, up 6 spots from where he started here today in 13th. An absolutely great run here from Nick Beaver as he continues to push and see if he's going to be able to push his way up to the top 5 or maybe even further than that. But right now, Howie Briss, James Coulibaly, they're going to fight it out for 12th at this moment, and I don't think Howie's going to make it he's not really going to make it a difficult battle, if you will, and I don't think James Coulibaly is going to make it neither one of them are going to make it hard on each other. I think it's going to be a pretty straight up battle between these two, and it's all just going to come down to pace, but Howie definitely trying to keep up the momentum. He looks real high through 1 and 2, down the back straightaway. There goes James Coulibaly, kind of sending it into 3 and 4, almost drifts up into Briss's lane. Briss able to avoid the contact and stay in that 13th place position. Howie falling down the leaderboard just a little bit. Hopefully he can climb his way back up as the race progresses on here. But lap 47 up to 40, still a long race left to go here. Nick Beaver and Charles Jurek battle for 6th place, kind of loosely developing here. Charles trying to reel in that number 10 machine as best as he can. You can see I don't know if he's intentionally sticking to that high line. Let's actually take a moment to ride on board here with Charles and see just exactly what kind of the thinking is in the mind of Charles Jurek. Just enjoying some action here with Charles Jurek and Lindsay mentioning in the chat that Jaden Hopp, our number 81 machine out here on the track, raced with Anthony Alfredo the other day and won. And I will say that is a pretty sweet accomplishment. It's not often that you get an opportunity to race with professional drivers of that caliber, and when you do get that opportunity, it's always just a very, I would say, surreal kind of feeling. So huge congrats to Jaden, both for winning against Anthony, but also for having the opportunity to be in a race with someone of that caliber. It's always a great experience. But as we continue on the action, things are getting relatively quiet around the track here. Things have settled down to a point where, let's actually take a look here. We can see on the bottom right-hand side of your screen, you can see just where drivers are on the track currently. And given that this is such a small track, there isn't really a whole lot of room for drivers to go. So the fact that we are this spread out at this time, I mean, it's kind of surprising. Definitely don't get to see this happen too often at Bristol, and the fact that we stayed green for 57 laps now and counting is a really great accomplishment for these drivers and for the series, in my opinion. I think this is a great display of what these drivers are all capable of, and really in their abilities to put on these just absolutely fantastic races, as Michael Keithley, Scott Shire starting to get into a little bit of a groove here. Max Neuwirth, or excuse me, that's actually Matthew Fitz, the number 69 driver, who looks like he might be going a lap down here as Keithley and Shire both pass him. And Fitz definitely struggling, it seems like, a little bit with that 69 machine. Now, again, we'll have to remember that the pit lap window is about 70 to 90 laps. So if, you know, depending on how aggressive Fitz was, you know, in these turns, whether he was consistently staying high, kind of abusing the tires a little bit more than the rest of the field, that definitely could be the reason why we're seeing him kind of get a little bit more squirrely than the rest of the field. Currently, he's clicking off lap times. Let's see what his last time is going to be here once he comes across the line this next time by. But his last lap was a 17.17, and that is almost a half a second slower than Howie Briss, who is the next driver ahead of him in that 13th place position. So Fitz definitely having some kind of issues with pace at the moment, trying to recover as best as he can. Hopefully he'll be able to find that pace once he comes back down into pit road, grabs a fresh set, and fills up on that tank as well. Here we've got quite an interesting little get up here. Aaron Smith, who currently holds on to the lead, getting held up by lap traffic, and lap traffic intermingled with the lead lap traffic here as well. Aaron Smith looks to go high. Scott Shire does not let it happen, and it's almost calamity. Shire goes to the bottom through 1 and 2. They're banging doors. Keithley, it's trouble as Aaron Smith gets dumped into the wall by lap traffic. Jaden Hopp, with nowhere to go, gets smacked from the side. Oh man, folks, it's just, this is not good. This is not good. So let's back this up here real quickly. Let's kind of digest what just happened here, because this is... So Scott Shire here, being in that 10th place position, doesn't want to go a lap down. Understandable. But this contact right here, this is what really kind of seals the deal for the entire thing. And that is definitely not how we want to see things kind of transpire. I don't think it was intentional on Scott Shire's part, at least I hope not. I don't think it was, but that is definitely... man. And Jaden Hopp as well getting involved in it. I mean, that front end is completely scrunched. I wouldn't be surprised if Jaden's going to be in here for... who knows? Honestly, who knows? If the damage is severe enough, he could be in there for quite some time. And for Aaron Smith, I mean, he was holding on to the lead. Now, sitting here in pit road, having to await some repairs, some kind of repairs. There he goes. He goes out of pit road now. So, not in there for as long as I was expecting, and Jaden Hopp not either. I mean, he pretty much told the pit crew, oh boy, he's already coming back in. That's not good. Well, I think Jaden told the pit crew to throw some duct tape on there, some hose clamps, whatever. I don't think it was enough. The zip ties might not have been enough to get this thing up and rolling again. But definitely a tough break for this field. And you know, for Scott Shire, too, to kind of be at the helm of this incident here, I don't think, again, like Redmond pointed out in the chat, I don't think it was intentional. It definitely did not seem that way. Scott was definitely pushing. I think definitely didn't want to go a lap down and was trying his best to avoid that, but unfortunately that just resulted in a little bit of contact, which unfortunately put Aaron into the wall and also collided with Jaden Hopp. Luckily, both drivers are still out here, still racing, with the exception of Jaden Hopp. He looks to be a little bit better, though. That front end, they seem to have found a spare one lying in the trailer somewhere. They quickly slapped it on there, and he's back out here. It definitely doesn't look great, but it's better than what it was. And oh boy. So as Red pointed out in the chat, Aaron Smith has been disqualified for wrecking under caution. That is definitely not something we like to see. You know what? I understand tempers will flare. I get it, but there's got to be a certain point where you got to keep it on the racetrack. I guess that's not really the best way to say it, but either way, we're back to green flag action here as we see lap 73 of 240, and a new leader back up here in the front of the field with Sean Williams and Patrick Colby. Going to be duking it out now for that lead spot in the middle of the field, looking real dicey at this point in time as drivers look to get in as much of this action as they can. Side by side between Max Neuwirth and Paul Mikolajczyk. I believe that's Paul. Indeed, it is Paul Mikolajczyk that I was trying to figure out who that was, but single file for a lot of these drivers here at the moment. We see Nick Beaver trying to get his way around Max Neuwirth, push his way up into that 6th place position, ever closer to the top 5 here. And now that the field has been majorly kind of shuffled, well, I don't want to say majorly, the field has kind of been shuffled around a little bit. This gives drivers a very, very unique opportunity to fight for some good positions here. Michael Keithley up here in this 4th place position. Caressel trying to get up onto the rear end. See if he can't get a spot here. And 2 wide, 2 deep. Back here in the here in the battle for 8th place. James Coulibaly, Paul Mikolajczyk, Scott Shire, and Jaden Hopp. All fighting it out here. Coulibaly all the way to the bottom as he reels in Max Neuwirth. Howie Briss here as well, seeing himself a lap down at the moment. Trying everything he can to keep him, to try and claw his way back up to the front. And Charles Jurek now going to take the lead for the field. Patrick Colby staying right on his tail as close as he can. as we're on lap 90 of 240 at this moment. Charles Jurek, Patrick Colby both fighting for the lead, and Nick Beaver as well, trying to claw his way up into the top 5, already sitting in that 5th place spot, but looking to the bottom of Michael Keithley, seeing if he can get into that 4th place position, but right now just staying right in the draft of Keithley. There he goes into the bottom through 3 and 4, or 1 and 2, excuse me. Doesn't quite have the pace to make it work that time, but Keithley is definitely trying to keep the pace up himself. Doesn't want to see himself go down a position. He's definitely pushing here, trying to stay up with the rest of the pack, and Sean Williams starting to feel some of that pressure here as well as they close in the gap. Fight here in the top 5 is only heating up further as Nick Beaver, Patrick Colby still trying to stay in the mix of it all. And I'm surprised to see Colby having dropped down into this 4th place position. Beaver looks high, try and get around him here onto the back straightaway, staying right behind Keithley, staying in the draft. There it is, the 4th place position is now Beaver's. Sean Williams, Charles Jurek, meanwhile, go side by side. The yellow flag is out as Matthew Fitz has found himself in a bit of a pickle here at the moment. Let's see what the incident was here for Matthew Fitz. Oh, looks like he got into the wall, and here it is, the slide through 3 and 4. Overcorrects it. Oh, well, yeah, he tried. He definitely tried. But there's the overcorrection right there. Trying to take it Tokyo Drift style into pit road, but doesn't quite make it work. But yeah, Fitz, I mean, ultimately he was able to avoid getting into the wall and damaging his car in any sort of way. Probably bald spotted the tires pretty badly, but that's at least that's an easier fix than getting the whole car repaired. So got to kind of take the losses for what they are sometimes, and it's not even really a loss for that matter. But anyway, Matthew Fitz here going to bring out the caution, but luckily no other drivers are involved, and no damage, no injuries. Everything is hunky-dory, and we go back to racing here in just a short bit. Our second caution of the race, 100 laps in out of 240 laps that we are going to have here tonight. Just a little bit left to go before we hit that halfway mark in today's race, and we get closer to see who's going to come away with a win here tonight at Bristol. Already seemingly a very, very intense race, not only on the track, but also things get a little heated for drivers off track as well, as far as just incidents happen. Incidents happen, and unfortunately tempers will flare, but hopefully things can be resolved and we can all move on. But for the time being, there's still racing left to be had, and we get ourselves ready to go back to green flag. I think this might be the last time the safety car makes its way around. Nope. We are going to see it come around the track at least 1 or 2 more times. As the lights are off on the safety car, we make our way around the track. Coming out of 3 and 4, the safety car will make its way down into the pits. There it goes into the Geico restart zone. We go, the green flag drops. We are back to the action here once again at Bristol Motor Speedway for the round of 4. The playoffs here for the Team Goon Squad Cup Series. Michael Keithley able to sneak away from this field. Patrick Colby trying to reel him back in as Sean Williams and Charles Jurek go side by side for a moment. Nick Beaver trying to reel his way back into the mix of things as well. Jaden Hopp also looking to get back into the action here, sitting in that 8th place position. A lot has happened here for Jaden Hopp, and a lot of work being put in by the pit crew to ensure that he's able to stay out here and keep racing and still showing great pace, even despite the damage that has been done to the front end of that 81 machine. So great work from Jaden Hopp and to the team down there in the pit crew. Michael Keithley, Patrick Colby, Charles Jurek. Colby and Jurek side by side. The battle for that 2nd place position continues. Beaver sneaks his way right up alongside Patrick Colby on the outside, down the back straightaway. Heading into 3 and 4, Colby's down to the bottom. As Beaver trying to keep the pace up on that high line. Jurek gets a little bit of a snap, and he goes almost, and he does make contact to Patrick Colby and Sean Williams. The slide continues for Jurek, and also Nicholas Caressel getting caught in that mix as well. We just saw Jaden Hopp just driving on by, and I'm sure he is relieved that he wasn't involved in any of that. At least I don't think he was. We're gonna have to go back here and see. Let's try this again. Find ourselves in the correct position. All right, now coming out of 4 and across the checkered line. This is where it starts to get real dicey here for Jurek. Starts to slide into 1, and he looks like he's going to save it, but right here, that rear end gets tapped into the side of Patrick Colby. Sean Williams also getting a little bit of contact from that as well. And I don't know if anyone else was involved in this one. Nicholas Caressel also getting involved here as he gets hit from the rear end and sent sliding down the back straight. An absolutely chaotic evening that we've had here. I mean, all the wrecks that we've had so far have just been, they haven't been good for anyone involved. It has been some crucial players in the field getting involved in some of these wrecks, and it is just definitely throwing a big wrench in this playoff race here tonight. But that is what makes the action so exciting. right, and the lights are off on the pace car. That means the next time that it comes out of 4, we'll make that dive down to pit road, and we will be back to green flag racing. There it is, into the Geico restart zone. It's Michael Keithley, Nick Beaver, alongside one another. The green flag drops, and Keithley getting a big jump on the rest of the field. Scott Shire pulling in alongside Nick Beaver as they come out of 2 onto the back straightaway. Nick Beaver absolutely sending it through 3 and 4 on the top line and gets the lead, and is currently trying to increase that gap as much as he can. Scott Shire trying to reel in that number 10 machine as best as he can. James Coulibaly, Michael Keithley now going to be side by side here. As we try and keep things calm and steady. Looking a little bit further back. Most drivers staying single file for the most part. See just a little further up ahead. Nicholas Caressel was looking to the inside of Howie Briss here. That number 97 Mobile 1 machine. Trying to reel in Caressel now as well. These drivers inching in closer and closer to one another. We've now crossed the halfway mark in tonight's race. James Coulibaly feeling the pressure from Nick Beaver. As he takes the lead, Nick Beaver now going to have to try and reel in the number 22 machine. Both James Coulibaly and Nick Beaver, the hardest chargers of the race, sharing that role as they have both moved up 11 positions since the start of this race here tonight. Nicholas Caressel, Charles Jurek, both in a little bit of a fight here for that 6th place position. There goes Jurek, looks down to the bottom through 3 and 4. Manages to get around Caressel with ease. Makes it look easy, and folks, I can't tell you how not easy that actually is to do. Jurek just making it look textbook. Gets alongside Max Neuwirth. Neuwirth getting slowed up by Keithley there for a moment. That's going to give Charles the opportunity he needs to push up into 5th. Neuwirth almost given a little bit of a paint job there to the wall for a second. Luckily manages to avoid contact. Keeps on racing here, but now he's going to have to reel in both Keithley and Jurek as they pull in side by side to one another into turns 1 and 2. And Patrick Colby almost finding himself in some big contact there as Jurek got right behind him. And it is slowing Jurek up to the point of frustration, I would have to imagine. Charles definitely not going to be very satisfied with that outcome right there, but that is unfortunately the nature of Bristol. You don't really have too much time to react and to see what's around the corner. And unfortunately for Jurek, that just happened to be in the form of lap traffic. And luckily, he was able to avoid contact, get on the brakes, and keep on racing here. He's going to be alongside Max Neuwirth now as they both track down Michael Keithley. Jurek gets right up to the bumper of the 53 Shrek machine. lap 137 of 240. Things are calm, things are quiet on the track at the moment, as now we're getting to the point where things are relatively spread out. Drivers have a little bit of pace between one another. Howie Brish trying to get himself some distance between himself and Paul Mikolajczyk. At this moment, Paul right to the bottom of the 97. And now Sean Williams also starting to creep his way into it. Sean Williams going to be down a few laps here at the moment, so he's going to try and recover from that as best as he can. As we're on lap 142 of 240, less than 100 laps left to go here, and still at least one more pit stop that drivers are going to have to make here before we see the end of today's race. And so this is it's winding down, folks, and it is coming down to the wire. Jaden Hopp trying to still get some positions as he makes his way around Nicholas Caressel, and I got to say that 81 machine definitely probably appreciating excuse me, definitely probably appreciating those yellow flags a little bit more than probably the rest of the field, being able to get in there and just have something worked out as much as he can. I don't even think he really, he actually did spend a little bit more time than the rest of the field did down there in pits, just trying to get as much damage as you, just chipping away at that damage, and it looks to be that it's working out enough. We'll see if he's going to be able to garner any further positions from here, but right now he's looking to the outside of Michael Keithley up into that 6th place position. Going to get a 2-for-1 as he gets around Scott Shire as well into the 5th place spot. Jaden Hopp, the number 81 machine, the unofficial regular champion here for the Team Goon Squad Cup Series. I will have that confirmed after tonight's race is over, but I would have to say without a doubt that Jaden is most definitely our regular season champion, and has just put on an absolutely incredible season. I don't think, unfortunately, because of the I'm trying to remember. I don't think he made it into the cut for playoffs, unfortunately, for the first race at Daytona, but still out here, still turning laps, still putting on a great effort, as he always does. And Jaden Hopp looking to get around Nicholas Caressel, the 45 driver, as we come down the back straight into 3 and 4. And Jaden Hopp just still chipping away at that lead. And with now 90 laps left to go, it is going to be a very fast 90 laps here for this field. Meanwhile, just up ahead, lap traffic again, coming in, kind of throwing a wrench in the gears for some drivers. James Coulibaly and Nick Beaver in particular in this situation. The battle for second place down to under a tenth of a second, or at least it was. Beaver looks down to the inside around James Coulibaly, trying to get into that second place position. Both Coulibaly and Beaver putting on great performances here tonight, both equal in how many positions they've garnered here tonight. Having both climbed up 10 spots equally, they are fighting tooth and nail for that Hard Charger award. Nick Beaver staying down to the bottom, trying to see if he can get a good run around James. But Coulibaly keeping up the pace and doing a phenomenal job, as he knows just as well as any other driver here, the clock is winding down here for this race. We are clicking off laps very quickly. Beaver keeping up the pressure here as he makes his way into the second place spot. Here comes Nicholas Caressel down into pit road at lap 163 of 240. I think this is going to be will be his last stop of the night. Getting it in right nice and early. I think that might be the move here for some drivers that want to try and get a little bit of an undercut chance, if you will, here. Taking that pit stop under green, still definitely a bold choice, but it will pay off for him, I think, once the rest of the field starts to cycle through. We'll have to wait and see once that starts to happen. And it looks like we've already had a few drivers come down through pit road that I failed to notice. Howie Brisk came in lap 158, Nicholas Caressel 161, Michael Keithley on 157. So we've had a couple drivers already trickle their way down into pit road. It's just going to be a matter of when the rest of the field is going to start to do the same. Scott Shire looks to be a little squirrely there for a second. Makes contact to Beaver. Beaver, great recovery. And it goes, wow! Paul Mikolajczyk right to the rear end of Scott Shire. I don't even think Paul... Oh, man. I definitely don't think Paul meant to do that. I think he was carrying a little bit too much pace. Yeah, he slammed on the brakes right there. You can see it happen. You can see that front end start to dig in right before the moment of impact. I think he's braking right there, and then he slams on it right before then. So yeah, I'm not sure exactly what his intentions were there, what he was trying to do. Maybe he was trying to get a dive. Oh boy. Okay. Well, while that gets sorted out, folks, drivers getting themselves stacked back up behind the pace car, getting ready to go once again. It looks like Howie Briss is going to be the one to get out, to get a wave around here as well. I think Michael Keithley and potentially Nicholas Caressel as well will get the same treatment. Hopefully push them up a little bit closer to the front of the field. But now that this is kind of where a big wrench has been thrown into the gears for a lot of driver strategies here tonight, because those drivers that were kind of trying to take that undercut strategy, that's now tossed out the window. That opportunity isn't going to be possible anymore, just because now everyone has had an opportunity to come down into pit road under yellow. So it's going to be a matter now of who can stay out here, who can stay competitive. There goes the pace car back down into pit road, into the Geico restart zone. The green flag drops. It's Charles Jurek and Nick Beaver up in the front row fighting for the lead. Beaver getting a good run here onto the back straightaway, managing to create a little bit of distance between himself and Max Newer. Charles Jurek. Jurek gets up into the wall. That's going to slow him down. Jaden Hopp looking right behind the 22 machine of James Coulibaly, trying to reel his way closer into the top 5. Jurek getting right up to the tail of that 22 machine as we go through 3 and 4. Back across the checkered line, things a little further back are looking real dicey. Sean Williams going to be right in the middle of a 3-wide sandwich with Fitz to the low side, manages to get out in front of him with just enough distance, but that was definitely a close one, as now Michael Keithley and Matthew Fitz, or excuse me, Charles Jurek and Matthew Fitz, they were having a little bit of a scramble, but Jurek being in that 5th place position, I'm just going to let Matthew Fitz on by. It seems like Fitz trying to get himself unlapped as best as he can, as right now the top 5 are all technically on the lead lap. The rest of the field is lapped or more. Hopp sitting in that 3rd place position, looking to try and reel in James Coulibaly, and maybe even Nick Beaver if he can do so. So we now only have 60 laps left to go before we end things off here tonight. Yeah, Lindsay, I think I would agree with you on that one. That is honestly very impressive, the fact that Jaden is still out here, still racing after the wreck that he took all those laps ago. I mean, it seems like forever ago now, but he's been able to stay out here and continue racing in stay on the lead lap as well. I mean, it's incredible the fight that Jaden Hopp has put up here today to stay in this thing and keep racing, and with that also potentially come away with a podium or more if he can keep it up here for these next 54 laps. Less than 50 laps left to go here, and honestly, these drivers are keeping it very consistent right now. And the battles that have been forming here have kind of been, well, with the intermix of lap drivers and lead lap drivers, it's definitely challenging, I think, for drivers to kind of determine who needs to be raced hard against and who doesn't. Who you need to just get around and not worry about, and who the drivers that you need to worry about are. I'm sure that drivers' crew chiefs are helping them make sure that they are aware of the cars that are a lap down and so on and so forth, but trying to navigate around them can be one challenge in of itself. Michael Keithley, I mean, he's fending off Matthew Fitz, who's in that 7th place position at this moment. Howie Briss currently going to be a lap down as well, so he's just kind of staying in the mix of things, just keeping himself up here. Matthew Fitz, 3 wide as we go through 3 and 4. Matthew Fitz to the bottom of Michael Keithley, as well as Charles Jurek. Jurek gonna fall to the back of this battle. Goes a little high through 1 and 2. Oh man, Jurek looking a little squirrely back there now as Nicholas Caressel and Sean Williams make their way on by. Caressel getting a big wall grab, having to recover from that one as we come across the line. 40 laps left to go here today at Bristol Motor Speedway for the round of 4 for the Team Goon Squad Cup Series playoffs. A little bit further up ahead, Matthew Fitz, Michael Keithley now going to battle it out for that 5th place position. Michael Keithley, Matthew Fitz. Side by side, the battle for 5th place heating up. Fitz to the bottom, Keithley stays right on the door as we come out of turn 4 and across the checkered line. Keithley trying to maintain that pace as he rides right in that middle groove. Fitz trying to stay right to the bottom, keeping that momentum up as best as he can. Oh, gets a little tap to the rear end of Keithley. Keithley doesn't seem fazed by it. Goes Caressel as well, trying to stay with the action. Charles Jurek as well, excuse me, never mind. For some reason I saw Sean Williams and assumed that was Charles, but clearly that's not Charles. Anyway, moving on. Oh, Caressel gets a big move to the outside of Matthew Fitz. That's going to put him right into that 6th place position. Fitz must have missed a braking zone or something along those lines there to have that happen. 30 laps left to go here at Bristol Motor Speedway, and those laps are dwindling. Oh, Caressel gets a little sideways there for a moment. He manages to correct it. Sean Williams, again, another lap driver who's just kind of staying in the mix of things here. .26 laps left to go. It's Michael Keithley, Nicholas Caressel battling it out for that 5th place position. And Nick Beaver, who is just in his own area code at this moment, I mean, he's created a nearly 4-second gap between himself and Jaden Hopp, which is just absolutely incredible. Caressel giving it all that he's got to Michael Keithley as they come out of 2 down the back straightaway. Caressel trying to find every open door that he can and walk through it, but it is not, Michael Keithley is not making that an easy task for him here. I think Keithley definitely wanting to secure a top 5 finish here tonight. Charles Jurek finding himself in a little bit of a dicey situation with 18, now 17 laps left to go. Nick Beaver, we can see lingering just behind these drivers, getting ready to maybe even surpass these guys as well. But the number 10 Fastenal machine putting on an absolutely impressive performance. But he hasn't been the only one. I mean, we've seen James Coulibaly up there fighting for the lead. We've seen Charles Jurek up there fighting for the lead. Sean Williams also was up there fighting for a while. Unfortunately, Aaron Smith, after some unfortunate circumstances, finds himself out of the race on lap 69, and Paul Mikolajczyk as well. Unfortunately, both drivers suffering similar fates in finding their race cut short a little bit here tonight. But hopefully, we can put that past us, and we can move on to next week at Darlington and focus the energy there, and hopefully be able to produce a better result next week. Laps left to go. Nick Beaver finding himself with a little bit of company now, as he's got Michael Keithley right to his outside, and Keithley just trying to keep up the momentum for himself here as well. With 10 laps left to go, this is where it all comes down to it. Any mistakes made at this point can be quite costly, but I don't think with how the field is spread out at the moment, I don't think that's going to be too much of an issue for drivers here at this moment. Okay. Well, it seems like our race has been cut short a little bit here. I did not expect that to happen. I assumed... Okay, folks. Well, excuse me for my lack of words here, as I'm a little flabbergasted by how this is kind of ended here, but I suppose these are the unofficial results here Apparently I did not leave enough time in the race session to be completed properly. Thought I did. Guess I didn't. Well, folks, with that being said, I guess we are going to go ahead. Interesting. Okay, well, not sure exactly what happened, folks, but here are the post-race results. Nick Beaver coming away with the win. Jaden Hopp in second. Max Neuwirth in third. James Coulibaly in fourth. Michael Keithley in fifth. Nicholas Caressel in sixth. Matthew Fitz in seventh. Howie Briss in eighth. Scott Shire in ninth. Sean Williams in 10th. Charles Jurek in 11th. Paul Mikolajczyk in 12th. Patrick Colby in 13th. Aaron Smith in 14th. And Dylan Meyer coming away in that 15th place spot. Not exactly how I wanted things to end here tonight, but unfortunately that seems to be how that's going to go. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and move into our post-race interviews, the first of which, after we get things kind of sorted out a little bit more on our end. So the first driver, Max Neuwirth, the number 66 machine, coming away with a third-place finish here tonight. Again, a little bit of an unexpected way to have this one finish out here, Max. But welcome. Congratulations on a podium finish. And frankly, what a very, very chaotic race that we had here tonight. A lot of calamity, a lot of very interesting incidents that happened throughout this race. What ultimately do you think helped you kind of finish out on the podium here tonight?
Yeah, Mason, you know, the ambient motorsports guys gave me a really great car here this evening. It's probably the best that we've had all year. You know, a lot of people were running the bottom. They were kind of thinking that was the way to go, but for me, just kind of sticking to the top side, it really helped me save my tires, something that I'm usually really not the best at. But I'm really happy to get a great result here today. This is our first top 3 of the year. 2 races left. Really thankful for everybody. Coldwell Enterprises, roofclaim.com, everyone jumping off of this race.
Absolutely. And Max, it was an absolutely incredible performance here for the 66 machine tonight at Bristol. How do you think you're going to fare next week heading to Darlington?
I don't want to get too optimistic. I think the key to Darlington is really just going to be staying out of that outside wall. If we can make it to the end, I think it will have a pretty good finish.
Well, Max, you managed to come out here tonight, and through all of the incidents, through all the yellows, and just a lot of calamity here tonight, you managed to come away with a solid finish. Hopefully, next week we'll be able to get be able to see more of that next week, and be able to talk to you again. But before you head out tonight and celebrate, is there anyone you want to give a shout out to or thank before you go?
Yeah, just like I said, everybody here on this NBA Motorsports number 66 Ford Mustang, everyone at roofclaim.com, Sherry Coldwell, Coldwell Enterprises, everyone who really makes this deal possible, and thank you for broadcasting.
Absolutely, Max. Thank you for joining me up here in the booth. I look forward to seeing you next week and hopefully get to talk to you again at Darlington.
Absolutely.
All right, you have a good one. Alrighty, folks, so that was Max Neuwirth out of the booth, coming away with third place. Up next, we have Jaden Hopp coming away with that second place finish, and after a phenomenal comeback, you could say. I mean, Jaden, you had quite a bit of damage to that front end, and you somehow managed to get it worked out enough to be able to come away with a podium finish and almost even being able to fight for the lead as well. But Jaden, I mean, what was kind of running through your head the moment that you saw yourself right into the side of Aaron Smith?
Oh, I thought I was screwed because the entire front nose was all pushed up. I was missing some horsepower, so I thought I was definitely screwed for the rest of the race.
Well, you managed to pull through and make something happen, even despite all of it. Now, with this kind of performance that you put on tonight, what kind of confidence does it give you going into Darlington next week?
So. I think me and Nick are close enough in points that I pretty much have to depend on Darlington, which I think will go all right, but I just don't like depending on that one whole race.
Well, Jaden, you did an absolutely phenomenal job here tonight. You put on an absolutely incredible performance, and you impressed me. You impressed all the fans watching at home. But before you go and celebrate this incredible podium, anyone you want to give a shout out to or thank before you go tonight?
Just you guys for putting on the racing broadcast each week. It's always fun to run here and watch the races afterwards. Thanks for everyone for watching back home and everyone for showing up.
Well, Jaden, thank you for joining me up here in the booth. It's always a pleasure to get you up here and get a chance to chat with you. Good luck going into next week at Darlington, and hopefully get to talk to you again there.
Thank you.
Alrighty, folks, so that was Jaden Hopp coming away with the second place finish. And last and certainly not going to be least here tonight, the hard charger of the race, the man who moved up the most spots throughout tonight's race. Nick, I mean, you just put on a show here tonight. You started in 13th and you managed to come away with a win, and not an easy win. 240 laps here at Bristol, or well, almost 240 laps. Thanks, iRacing. Anyway, we managed to come away with a win here tonight. Looking forward to next week at Darlington. I mean, I would think that you're pretty well dialed in. How comfortable were you coming into Bristol tonight?
I was not comfortable at all. I don't remember the last time I raced Bristol. Probably 3 or more years ago. So it's been quite a while. So it was a lot to learn coming into the session tonight, and even in practice, I felt like I had nothing. I could not figure it out. And sort of to my luck, I screwed up qualifying because I kept barreling it into the corner, got into the wall, and that was kind of my indication that 1, I need to back it up. 2, starting from the back will be a good lesson. So kind of starting in the back, driving my way through the field, I learned a ton about what the tires like, what they don't like, what's possible, and maybe by the halfway point I really figured out the line. So it was probably a good thing that I screwed the pooch on qualifying. But yeah, it was totally fun. I love driving through the field if I'm fast enough, and luckily tonight I was. But Bristol's a fun challenge.
Bristol is definitely always a fun time, whether you're on the track or in the booth or in the stands, wherever you are. It's always a great time. But Nick, I mean, with this one out of the way, we head to the championship round next week. We go to Darlington. How are you feeling about Darlington? I mean, I would expect that you're probably going to be doing pretty well there, but what's kind of your personal goal for next week?
Probably to do as good as tonight. I think the last time I drove Darlington was the last time I drove Bristol. And Darlington is my favorite oval. It is super technical and it's very unforgiving. So I think those are the tracks I thrive at. I think it'll be a lot of fun. I don't know how the points stack up tonight, but I think I might have closed the gap a little bit further. And so I'm hoping Darlington can go well. It's going to be a tight points battle between me and Jaden, I believe.
It most certainly will be. You guys have been going at it tooth and nail these last few races, and it's been absolutely incredible. But Nick, thank you for joining me up here in the booth. Thank you for putting on such an incredible race for us here tonight. But before you go, anyone you want to give a shout out to or thank, and before you crack open a gold one and celebrate?
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks, Mason, for putting these races on. Again, always a blast. It's cool to be in a fun car with a fun group of guys, and then a shout out to the rest of the field. It sounded like morale might have not been so high after that one, but it's fun to hang out with them and listen to them. I don't say much during the races, if anything, but they're a blast to listen to, and I think they put on great racing all night. To go through Bristol and have, I don't know, what was it, 3 cautions maybe? That's very impressive, and to have tight racing with such a difficult car. So shout out to everyone in the field. I know tonight was not everyone's favorite night, but I still had a lot of fun racing with you guys.
Well, Nick, it's always a pleasure to have you up here in the booth, and thank you for the kind words and hopefully a little bit more of a morale boost for everyone watching. But Nick, thank you as always, and I look forward to seeing you next week, and hopefully get to talk to you there at Darlington.
Yep, looking forward to it. Thank you.
Absolutely. You have a good one.
Use it.
Alrighty, folks, that is going to wrap it up for our coverage of race number 11, the round of 4 here for the Team Goon Squad Cup Series. My name is Mason Heimbaugh, as always, bringing you the action here on Team Goon Squad. Thank you all for watching, and we will see you all same time, same place next week at Darlington Raceway. Thank you all. See you in the next one.
Oh, Pearson gets into the 95 of Bolts. Here comes the caution.
Flag is dropped here at Daytona, and away we go for the first time. Nicholas Porcel, Sean.
Looks like most get through unscathed. Look at that, there's Reed Gibson. A big move at the inside line of Dom's, possibly a little bit of contact.
Up now as we've got 3 wide action going through turns 1 and 2.
And they're underway. Eric Hahn takes a nice jump. Wilson hasn't let him go very far.
Nice to go out here for Circuit Spa Francorchamps. Alex Johnson's off to a brilliant start there.
See just how oddly shaped this one is. We saw in the background Eric Hahn go for a bit of a swing, and he's gone and he's over.
New stuff. Cody Graham's the one-on-one up into second place. Alex Johnson 6/10 lead at the moment.
They're dicey up front. There's Andrew Kessel, Justin Sang.
They are ready to go. The lights are out, and away we go for the very first time here at Okayama International Circuit. Finley Fitzsimmons